If you sell courses or coaching, Apple very quietly just put you out of business inside your prospect's iPhone. And most course creators have no idea it already happened. I want to show you exactly how this plays out. We're seeing a trend where a business development consultant, someone with a solid six-figure course business and years of consistent revenue, gets on a discovery call and the prospect pulls out their phone. They show the consultant a complete learning path covering everything their course covered, built in 20 minutes, free, using Apple's AI. The consultant has nothing to say because the prospect's right. That moment is coming for a lot of course creators. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you which type of course Apple just made obsolete and which one is safe for now. Listen, Apple didn't build a course competitor. They did something more dangerous. In June 2025, at their developer conference, Apple opened what they called their Foundation Models framework to every app developer on the planet. What that means is any app can now tap into the same on-device AI that powers Apple Intelligence for free. No cloud costs, no subscription, running entirely offline. Apple even demonstrated the education use case themselves, an app that takes a student's own notes and generates a personalized quiz on the fly, adapted to their level and running offline on their device. Then in January 2026, Apple took it further. They sent their own professional learning specialists into schools, actual human trainers, to teach educators how to use Apple Intelligence as their default lesson design tool, not as an experiment, as the standard workflow. Apple didn't build a course competitor. They made AI-assisted content creation the institutional expectation. And once schools normalize that, your customers will expect it everywhere. And here's the part most people aren't seeing. The real threat isn't Apple. Apple is the accelerant. The real threat is what was already true about your offer, whether the core of what you sell is something people can now get for free. The question isn't whether AI changes things. It already has. The question is which side of that change you're on. Think about what most online courses actually sell. Whether you're a consultant, a coach, a financial advisor, or a speaker, if your course teaches a concept, explains a process, or organizes information that already exists somewhere else, that's the layer Apple just compressed. Here's the test. Right now, think about your course. Strip it down to bullet points. Could Apple's AI rebuild something 80% as good from publicly available information right now? If the answer is yes, or even maybe, you're in territory that Apple just made free. That's not a knock on your expertise, it's a knock on how that expertise is packaged. What's actually happening is a divide forming in the online course market, the authorship divide. On one side, you have content courses. These teach what already exists. They package knowledge, explain concepts, organize information. Good production, clear delivery, but the core material is available somewhere else. Content courses sell convenience and curation. On the other side, you have author courses. These teach a framework the author invented, a named proprietary methodology that came from their own expertise, their own client work, their own failures and discoveries. The sequence exists because they built it. The name exists because they created it. The results are trackable back to them. Here's the distinction that matters. Apple's AI can explain your framework once it exists. It can teach a version of the concepts you cover, but it cannot be the person who invented it. It cannot hold the track record. It cannot be the name peers and clients reference. It cannot carry the credibility of someone who discovered it through years of real work. Many courses we see are content courses. Excellent content, expertly organized, but the business development frameworks being taught exist in other forms in other places. And prospects are increasingly aware of this because their phone can show them. What does the author course look like in practice? Not how to write sales emails, but the 3-line close system I developed after writing 10,000 cold emails for B2B clients, which converts at 4 times the industry benchmark. One's information, the other is authorship. See the difference? Apple's AI can do type 1. It can never be the inventor of type 2. Here's the simplest way to think about what's actually happening. If your offer can be replicated by a free tutor on someone's phone, you don't have an offer. You have a formatting service. That's the whole game. And that's what changes everything about what you need to be building right now. So what are we seeing happen? Consultants are stopping the repositioning of the same content and starting to build around what only they have. The specific methodology they've developed from years of closing deals. The name sequence that came from their own failures and breakthroughs. The framework with their fingerprints all over it. They named it. They document it. And then they do one more thing. They put it in a book. Not because they want to be an author, because once it's in a book, it's theirs. Permanently, officially, something no competitor could replicate and no AI could claim. And here's what's surprising them. Once the book exists, everything else writes itself. The course content, the social posts, the discovery call, all of it flows from that one asset. Their framework is now a published, named methodology that prospects can find, read, and reference before they ever get on a call with them. Their next launch materially outperforms everything before it. Not because the topic changed, because the offer became unreplicable. So what actually works right now? The consultants and advisors who are holding their ground and in some cases growing share one thing. They've built an asset that commoditized information cannot replace. A named proprietary methodology tied to their name, their track record, their specific results, something that exists in the world with their fingerprints on it. Here's how to audit where you are right now. Open your course, look at each module, ask one question. Could ChatGPT teach this from publicly available information? If yes, that module needs your fingerprints, your named framework, the counterintuitive move you discovered through client work, the result that only can be traced back to you. The ones who figure this out aren't fighting Apple. They're becoming the thing Apple's AI can reference but never replace. Apple killed the generic course. The author course is bulletproof. The question most people have at this point is, okay, I get it, but how do I actually do what these successful consultants are doing? How do I take everything I've learned, everything I've built through real client work, and turn it into something permanent? A named system that prospects can find before we ever get on a call, that no AI can replicate, and that makes everything else in my business easier. That's exactly what I walk through in this video right here. It covers the same process we're seeing successful consultants use, taking what's already in your head and building a book around it in 90 days without staring at a blank page. Once that asset exists, your course, your content, your positioning, it all flows from there. If Apple just made your current model harder to defend, that next video is where you become bulletproof. Watch it next.